So once we've understood what are chart patterns, we go to the next topic, why volumes are very important. Before getting deeper into the volumes part, we need to understand why do we need to look at volumes in the first place, right? Is price not enough, right? If you look at globally, if you look at a lot of technical analysis which is shared globally, you will see very low importance given to volumes because it's a highly liquid market across the world. When I say highly liquid, there is no problem of liquidity available, the trading volumes, etc. But when you come to India, it's a very different picture in terms of the shareholding patterns in India. So if you look at an Indian company or even the whole Indian market as such, promoters own around 45 to 50%, followed by that FIIs own around 20 to 25%, and then you have DIIs, which is mutual funds and insurance together, you own 10 to 15%. So the retail float available is only 10%. Now, these are just ballpark figures, but the problem gets much more aggravated when you go towards the small caps side of it. Because in small caps, you have a lot of companies where promoters own 50 to 75%. Now, India is the only country where SEBI had to come out with a regulation forcing companies to go back to a 75% stake. In a lot of companies, there were 85% holdings of promoters. And now there is a strict rule that promoters can't go beyond 75%. A new IPO also has a time frame by which time they have to go to below 75%. So you'll see a lot of new IPOs also where promoters own 85%. Now you look at a lot of PSU banks, because of recapitalization of these companies, the President of India, the government owns 90% stake into these companies. There is a PSU company called FACT where 90% is owned by the government, another 8% is owned by another government entity. So essentially what happens is the float is terribly low in a lot of small caps. And this is where it also becomes exciting as a technical analyst, because with price breakout, you also get a volume breakout, which gives you a lot of indication that how much has been the demand very quickly. And the volume changes are huge. So this is the structure which is peculiar only to India. So what happens in small caps is, if I'm a HNI, I'm an institution, right? If I have to buy stake into a company, there is a huge impact cost. Now, essentially, if I have to buy 2% of a company where the total float available is only 10%, implies you have to buy 20% of the float available, the number of shares which are there in the market. So that will imply the HNI, the institution will have to give an impact cost. And that is what is easily seen on technical charts, because you see a 20% run up in a small cap with a 5x, 10x, 20x jump on volumes. And that gives you an indication that somebody has taken a big bet on that company, which is essentially a little longer term in nature, because you cannot sell 2% of equity in and out in an Indian small cap as easily. So the problem is, when you look at volumes in India, because it's a very concentrated market, and this is across the board. So even in large caps, you'll notice similar cases, very large companies where promoters own 70% of the stake. Another 20% is with all the institutions, or 25% is with all the institutions. So volumes make a huge difference. Now you compare the same with global markets, it is entirely opposite. The promoters own 20%, 80% is with the whole market. So the float is huge, but in India it is the other way around. And that is where it becomes very important to look at volumes. Also, as a small cap trader investor, it gives you a nice hint when the volumes also go up very huge with a price breakout, because that's an indication somebody has taken a big bet, and you can easily piggyback on technicals. So I hope the conclusion is very clear. Volumes are very important when you're looking at small caps. In India, it may not be the case in other markets you look at. So that is why when we go forward in examples, we'll be focusing a lot more on volumes, and along with that, price action and technical analysis chart patterns.